every coach has different challenges with the schools they coach at and the teams they have. What are John Calipari's challenges, and what makes him a good coach?
Well, his challenges are expectations. Needless to say, you don't take a job at a place like that without understanding that. But thick skin, if you don't have it, it's then don't get into this business. So that's what his challenges are, to keep his players understanding day in, day out that we're pretty good, but you know what? It only takes a bad 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and then it's over. Whether it's 2 games left, possibly 4 games left, the end of the regular season, just to keep guys focused on trying to stay within the framework of what made your team pretty good to get to the point where they are now. Don't forget how you got there. Every team that's going to the Final Four has something to hang their hat on, and Kentucky knows that. Their players know it. John obviously has reminded them. So the main thing is just to be themselves and not worry about the expectations from John's standpoint in his job. It's just to coach and make sure the players understand that everybody's out to get them. They're marked. We were marked this year. Duke was marked to some extent. Michigan State had ups and downs, and now is playing really well. So that's making sure the expectations are the ones that you have control over as a coach, not outside ones. That's what John has done a great job of.
Jeff?
Bo, I'm just curious, when you were here as an assistant for that 8-year span, not a lot of victories, no NCAA tournament appearances. I'm just remember what you remember most from those years, and did you ever envision that this program would be able to achieve someday the level of consistency it has in the last 14?
Well, I just kept filing everything away, just kept learning. Like, if I ever get a chance, this is what I'm going to do. Or I might not do this, or I learned that this is the right way, this isn't the right way. I watched other programs, studied other programs, saw players come and go. And then when I finally got my opportunity, then you do your thing. So at least somebody believed in me. In every job that I've ever taken, there was a person who said, and the first one was Bill Cofield. What he saw in me was based on 2 former players of his at Lincoln University in the Philly area. And, I worked with him 1 year, and then the school folded, and then he said, hey, when I get my head job, you're the first one I'm asking. He lived up to it. He lived up to his word. He got the Wisconsin job, called me. Took me about 2 seconds to say yes, and I owe everything to him for getting me into the college profession of coaching. And the best way to say thank you to people, I've said all along in other interviews, is to just do your job. Try to do your job the best you can, and that's the way you say thanks. So to the George Chris, to the Pat Richters, to Barry with his support now that he's AD, Bud Haiti, Nancy Zimpher at UWM, the high school principal that I worked for, the junior high school principal. If somebody, when I was an assistant, I was eyes, ears, and mind were constantly open. And thank goodness, because it helped me later. And I didn't like losing.
Bo, how much of a point of pride is it for you that half the field in the Final Four is from the Big Ten?
Oh, that's great. Tom and I talked yesterday or whatever day it was. They all run together now. When you get in at 4 a.m, 2 weekends in a row, I got confused. But the fat paper came on Sunday. Telling you, that's what older people tell me. Trash cans and fat papers, Wednesdays and Sundays. So I did realize it was Sunday. What was the question? 2 teams in the Big Ten. I know. Yeah, so Tom and I I was just trying to get what day we were talking. It was yesterday. And, we're proud of that. What the heck? And then you move on. And then it's, okay, now you play. So
Pedro, back.
I'm proud of this conference.
The players have mentioned, whether it was even in the locker room right afterwards on Saturday night, that there was a little bit of a different feeling, whether it was more of a business trip this time or just a different feeling in going back the second year. For you, as a coach who's been down this road before with different
Well,
things, is
because
there any
Aaron
difference for you?
Rodgers wasn't telling jokes this year in the locker room. He didn't come in. So, yeah, it was a little different. Okay, hey, this is great. Believe me, they did not take anything for granted. That's not what is meant by that. But it's okay, the euphoria, and then, okay, all right, hey, we got a game, and we got to get ready for our next weekend. So it hit them a little sooner this time.
Bo, do you go back and watch the game from last year, or is it irrelevant because the personnel's so
The personnel's different, but of course I looked at it. But they're a different team. I think it's easier for them to look at us than it is for us to look at them. For anybody I looked at 10 films today, a couple games where I only looked at a half, but no, they're different. They're undefeated for a reason.
Bo, it's one thing to say that for the team to make goals and say, we want to get back to the Final Four, whatever. What does it mean for this group to do this, to have this opportunity?
They said it, and they did it. I told them I'd go along with them. I'd patrol the sidelines. I'm with you. But I don't ever put that on teams. I don't say, hey, you got to do this, or you're not fulfilling anything. Okay, guys, you ready? Let's go. Roll your sleeves up. Let's get after it. And they've lived up to what they said they were going to do to this point.
But what's impressed you the most about Sam over the last couple of games, namely what you saw in that second half against Arizona?
He made shots. I mean, the basket is looking big to him. He felt confident. And, on that last one, because of the length of the closeout defender, he did have to launch it just a little bit higher. But he was feeling it. So, but at least it wasn't a spin around, fall backwards. I only take him out when he takes the hernia shots. And you know what a hernia shot is. You hurt yourself with all the contortions in order to get the shot off. Because that tells me he's tired.
Well, just more on Sam. How do you think he's advanced from maybe where he was at this point last year? What advances has he made as a player?
Well, I mean, I don't, in the breakdown films, I didn't have to mention his name 20 times. Not blocking out, not rotating defensively, not running the floor in transition. So probably of all the players, his notations on our teaching clips dropped probably 80%, not 100. Trust me. He blocks out better. He runs the floor better defensively. He rotates better. His shots around the rim, he finished on more of those this year. That's how we try to get guys better, by pointing out, like, this is what you're not doing. I can't coach by constantly saying, hey, way to go, young man. Hey, you're always doing the right thing. Hey, no, hey, you're doing a good job, but here's a way we can get better. And plus he's handling it better. They're growing up right in front of our eyes. That's what I get to see. That's how lucky I am.
But at what point do you and your staff start looking at Kentucky? I mean, and how much has the advancement in technology over the years kind of helped your ability to prepare for a team?
Oh, we had an assistant getting stuff ready on Kentucky well before, because you'd say, okay, if we do this and then they do that. But we had it on other teams too. It's not like if Kentucky was defeated by one of these other teams that we were like, oh my goodness, we don't have anything on them. No, we had stuff on everybody because of technology, if that's what you're looking for. But not only that, we would get it anyhow, somehow, some way.
But whether it's Frank on SportsCenter or the other guys that have spent considerable time in the national spotlight, very visible, how do you think they've done as ambassadors for this program, for this.
You
the
wouldn't
university.
believe what we're getting at the office. You wouldn't believe the things that are coming back to us of how these young men have represented the university, and that, boy, they like actually are having fun. They're students. They're taking care of business. They're playing competitive basketball. It's like, aren't you lucky? And I'm like, yeah, I am. I got a good bunch here, and I haven't had a bad bunch ever. It's just this group, because of how well they've played, they've garnered more attention, so therefore more people see, with social media and everything else, who these guys really are. You know, Nigel doesn't have to do the Ron Burgundy thing this year. I don't think he's doing it, is he? I wouldn't know, because I don't go on that stuff.
In the back, John.
Yeah, Bo, 1999, you coached in a national title game in front of, I think, 4,400 people, which was a record at the time. Back then, did you?
Because we were playing a team from Virginia, and we were in Virginia. Yeah.
Right. Did you ever think back then that something like this would be possible, where you compete in front of the whole world, pretty much, with television and potentially another national title?
Never looked at it that. That's not why I got into this. You know, there are guys now getting into coaching because of the spotlight. Like, that's what they're, hey, you know, there's money to be made there. Look at what these guys are getting paid now. You guys know my background. That's the last reason I ever got into this profession. So I can't relate to the question of, did I ever think that I never sat around pondering that I'd be coaching in the semifinals of the Division I national tournament. I never did. That wasn't, it's not where. It's like, when you're in a position, do the best job you can where you are. So I never worried about how many hits, because they didn't have them back then, but how much attention I would get. That's the last reason. I'd like to disappear during the game. And sometimes I think the officials have agreed with me on that. But I can't answer that question, because I've never gone there with my mind as to why I do what I do. I am really fortunate to be in this position, but I could be doing this in high school and banter with the one or two media people that might be asking me questions.
The players when they were here right before you, referred to Saturday's game as just the next game, but how do you guide them through this week when they get, I know as the tournament goes on, you get more and more attention, but this week, whether it's texts, ticket requests, media interviews, how do you guide them through this?
Our first practice last year in Dallas, closed practice, we're in that place, and you people saw it when it was full. We're in there, and it's like being outdoors in some big canyon. And I have these certain drills that I do, and I watch body language, I watch interaction of play, and then we started doing some possessions. Everybody on the line. We did 16 lines. You have to do it in under 60 seconds, and you got to sprint. Nobody even hesitated. They knew we're throwing the ball away. We're airballing shots. We look like we had never practiced before. They blew their lungs out, meaning they sprinted, and I always feel they enjoy it when they can do that. So then they were ready to practice. Then we practiced, and it turned out to be a great practice. So when you say, well, how do you get them to focus? I'll get them to focus, but I'd rather not have to run them to get them to understand, look, guys, we only get so many minutes on this floor. This is the game floor. Let's not waste any of the minutes. Not like they were, but their minds, they were not ready to go, but they were ready to go after that.
For example, Sam said doing the media day down there can be almost as exhausting as
It can be.
going to practices.
Yeah, it can be, because it's hurry up and wait sometimes. And, you know, sometimes like after games, media will come into the locker room and ask some unbelievable questions that have absolutely nothing to do with the game that was just played. And our guys scratch their heads sometimes, and they go, what? What was that about? But now that they've been through it, they kind of know what to expect. So maybe they'll take their game things with them and have contests. Pinball machines are too big. I'd love to have one.
See what we can do. Tom.
Bo, people have talked about the quality of the coaches in the Final Four, but have you looked at the?
Did I bring them down?
Have you looked? No, I think you're right in there. You're holding your own. Have you looked at the players in this Final Four, and what do you think of the quality of the players still alive in this tournament?
Unbelievable. And I hope people are talking about that because sometimes you might never see a conglomeration of student athletes like this that will be playing for money down the road. I think there's several draft picks and eventually and all that, but I never get. That's all for other people to decide on. But there's a lot of talent in this league or in this tournament. Very much so. There was in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. So I hope people enjoy it.